200 hours, Taragu Beach, northern coast of Guam. The Pacific Ocean heaves against the shoreline in a rhythmic, crashing cadence. Salt spray hangs heavy in the humid night air, coating the jagged limestone rocks with a slick sheen. Beyond the breaking surf, the water is a wall of impenetrable blackness. Tall palm trees sway gently in the trade winds, their fronds rattling like dry bones against the starless sky. A lone U.S. Air Force sentry walks the perimeter path, his boots crunching softly on the coral sand. He pauses to adjust his rifle sling and yawns, the red glow of his watch illuminating a bored expression. The rhythm of the waves changes slightly. 50 meters out, the surface breaks. It is not a wave. A black rubber fin slices the water, then another. Dark shapes materialize from the foam, low and sleek like sharks hunting in the shallows. 6 combat divers drag themselves onto the wet sand. They move with unnatural silence. Water sluices off their matte black wetsuits. They detach rebreathers and unclip waterproof weapon cases with practiced efficiency. The sentry turns. He hears a wet slap on the rocks. His eyes widen. He raises his assault rifle. A suppressed shot coughs into the night. The sound is a dull, wet thump. The sentry jerks backward violently as if yanked by an invisible rope. His rifle clatters to the stones. He collapses, clutching his throat. Blood spurts between his fingers, looking like oil in the moonlight. The lead diver sprints forward. He covers the distance in 3 powerful strides. He dives on the fallen man. A combat knife flashes. The blade sinks deep into the chest cavity. The sentry thrashes once, his boots kicking up sand, then goes still. The diver wipes the blade on the dead man's uniform. He stands and signals the team. Sharp hand movements cut through the dark. Clear, advance. The unit fans out, weapons raised. They check the actions on their submachine guns. Night vision goggles flip down. Green light washes over their eyes. They step over the body and vanish into the dense tree line. The beach returns to silence. Only the waves remain. 2:30 hours, jungle perimeter, north of the airfield. The vegetation is a tangled wall of vines and ironwood. Mosquitoes swarm in thick clouds, drawn to the heat of the swampy ground. The humidity is oppressive, clogging the lungs with every breath. Moonlight fails to penetrate the dense canopy overhead. Shadows stretch and twist like living things. A heavy silence hangs over the undergrowth, broken only by the distant hum of a generator. A branch snaps. It is a sharp, dry crack. The noise freezes the nocturnal insects. The foliage parts. The lead commando pushes through a cluster of stiff ferns. His boots sink into the sucking mud. He raises a clenched fist. The column halts instantly. He points to a gray box mounted on a mossy tree trunk 10 yards ahead. A thermal sensor. It scans the forest floor with an invisible electronic eye. The point man pulls a small blocky device from his tactical vest. He aims it at the sensor. He presses a switch. A blue light pulses once, then fades. The sensor's red status LED blinks out. It dies. The path is clear. The team surges forward. They reach the perimeter fence. It is 12 feet of galvanized steel topped with coiled razor wire. The metal gleams faintly in the gloom. 2 operators kneel at the base of the barrier. Heavy bolt cutters bite into the chain links. Snip. The sound is barely audible, softer than a twig breaking. Snip. Metal strands unravel. They peel back the mesh like skin. The hole widens. One by one, the infiltrators slither through the gap. Their gear scrapes against the sharp wire edges. A sleeve tears, skin scratches. They ignore the pain. They drag their equipment bags onto the manicured grass of the flight line buffer zone. The team leader checks his wrist compass. He signals left. The airfield lights glow in the distance, casting an orange haze against the night sky. The safety catches on their weapons click off. 300 hours, tarmac edge, main airfield. The vast expanse of concrete stretches out like a gray desert. Heat shimmers rise from the ground, ghosts of the day's scorching sun. Rows of blue taxiway lights guide the eye into the darkness. The smell is pungent, burnt kerosene and rubber. A heavy silence dominates the flight line, interrupted only by the distant whine of a lone power cart. The massive hangars stand like fortresses against the night sky. The infiltration team crouches behind a row of concrete blast barriers. The leader scans the horizon with night vision binoculars. A security forces patrol truck rolls past slowly, 200 yards out. Its headlights sweep the metal siding of the nearest building. The beam passes over their position. The commandos press their faces into the dirt. The truck continues. The red taillights fade into the gloom. The leader chops his hand through the air. Execute. The unit fractures. 3 men, squad alpha, break left. They stay low, sprinting in a crouch toward the towering cylindrical shapes of the fuel farm. Their boots make no sound on the pavement. They cling to the deep shadows cast by the hangars. They move fast. weapon barrels fixed on the corners ahead. Squad Bravo moves right. They dash across the open taxiway. Exposed. They dive into a concrete drainage ditch running parallel to the runway. Stagnant water soaks their uniforms. They crawl forward on elbows and knees. Ahead, the massive silhouettes of strategic bombers loom against the stars. The aircraft sit like sleeping giants, wings drooping with fuel. A mechanic walks under the wing of the lead bomber. He checks a hydraulic panel. His flashlight beam cuts the dark. Squad Bravo freezes in the ditch. The mechanic yawns, turns a wrench, and taps the metal. Clang. The sound rings out. He does not look down. He moves to the next wheel well. The intruders inch closer. They slide out of the ditch and roll beneath the fuselage of the nearest jet. The leader of Bravo pulls a brick of plastic explosive from his pack. He points to the main landing gear strut. 3:15 hours, aviation fuel storage complex. The air reeks of volatile hydrocarbons. Massive white tanks rise like steel monoliths, connected by a labyrinth of valves and high-pressure piping. Steam hisses from a pressure relief vent. The hum of electric pumps vibrates through the concrete floor. Squad Alpha moves deep into the maze. They reach the main distribution manifold. The demolition specialist kneels. He pulls a limpet mine from his satchel. He scrapes the paint off the pipe with a wire brush. Metal screeches softly. He slaps the mine against the steel. The magnets clamp down with a solid thud. He twists the fuse dial. A red LED blinks active. He signals the team. 2 more. They move to the intake valves. A vehicle engine growls nearby. Tires crunch on gravel. A security force's SUV brakes hard at the depot gate, 50 yards away. The headlights cut through the chain-link fence, illuminating the pipe rows. Squad Alpha freezes. They press their bodies against the cold steel of the tanks. The SUV door opens. A K9 handler steps out. He holds a tight lead. A large Belgian Malinois hops down. The dog lands on all fours and stiffens instantly. Its ears snap forward. It inhales deeply, testing the wind. A low guttural growl rumbles from its chest. The handler frowns. He unclips the safety strap on his holster. He clicks on a heavy flashlight. The beam stabs into the shadows of the fuel farm. The dog barks a sharp, aggressive crack. It lunges against the collar, claws scratching the pavement. The handler lets the lead play out. "Seek," he commands. The dog sprints toward the manifold, dragging the handler behind it. The animal rounds the corner of the first tank. It locks eyes with the lead commando. 3:20 hours, fuel storage complex. The standoff lasts a fraction of a second. The Belgian Malinois launches. It is a blur of muscle and teeth. The beast slams into the lead commando's chest. The impact drives him back against the steel piping. Jaws clamp down on his forearm. Kevlar fabric tears. Teeth grind against the hard ceramic plate beneath. The commando grunts. He jams his free hand into the dog's collar and twists. He drives a combat knife into the animal's flank. The dog yelps, shudders, and goes limp. The handler screams, "Contact! Front!" He draws his pistol. He fires blindly into the shadows. Crack, crack. The unsuppressed shots shatter the night. Muzzle flashes bloom like lightning, blindingly bright. The rounds ricochet off the fuel tank with a high-pitched zing. Sparks shower the concrete. The second commando steps out from behind a valve wheel. He raises his submachine gun. He squeezes the trigger. A short, controlled burst spits from the suppressor. Thwip, thwip, thwip. Bullets punch through the handler's tactical vest. The force spins him around. He crashes face first into the gravel. His radio flies from his hand, skidding across the pavement. Silence returns for a heartbeat. Then the air rips apart. The base alarm system engages. A mechanical siren begins a low, mournful wail that climbs rapidly in pitch. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The sound echoes off the hangars. Floodlights ignite along the perimeter fence. The darkness vanishes under a sudden, harsh, artificial glare. The element of surprise is gone. "Compromised!" the team leader yells over the siren. "Detonate!" 3:25 hours, aviation fuel storage complex. The siren wail cuts through the humid air. Squad Alpha sprints toward the perimeter fence, boots pounding the asphalt. They dive behind a thick concrete culvert. The timer on the main charge hits 0. A spark ignites the detonator. The world turns white. A massive explosion rips the night apart. The first fuel tank ruptures. Thousands of gallons of aviation fuel ignite instantly. A column of fire roars 500 feet into the sky. The heat wave punches outward like a solid hammer. It slams into the surrounding buildings. Windows shatter half a mile away. The ground shakes violently. Steel plates peel back like wet cardboard. Debris rains down, shrapnel, burning insulation, chunks of concrete. A secondary explosion rocks the second tank. It collapses inward, then bursts. Burning liquid sprays across the tarmac, creating a river of fire. The roar is deafening, drowning out the alarms. Thick black smoke billows up, blotting out the stars and choking the air with the smell of burning chemical agents. On the main base road, U.S. security forces vehicles swerve to avoid falling debris. Tires screech on the pavement. Officers shield their eyes from the blinding glare. The radio channels dissolve into static and shouting. "Fire in the hole! Sector 4 is gone!" A sergeant screams into his mic. He slams the accelerator. The convoy races toward the inferno. The night is no longer dark. It is bright orange and bleeding smoke. 330 hours, main flight line. The orange glow from the burning fuel depot washes over the parked aircraft. Shadows stretch and dance violently across the concrete. The roar of the fire provides a chaotic acoustic mask for Squad Bravo. They rise from the drainage ditch, dripping wet and mud-caked. The distraction is perfect. The team leader points to the row of strategic bombers. The designated marksman sets up his heavy sniper rifle on a metal cargo pallet. He looks through the thermal scope. The crosshairs settle on the intake turbine of the lead aircraft. He pulls the trigger. The weapon kicks hard against his shoulder. A thunderous crack splits the air. The armor-piercing round slams into the engine cowling. It punches through the titanium blades. Metal screeches against metal. Sparks spray from the intake. The turbine shatters internally, grinding to a halt. He cycles the bolt. He fires again. The canopy of the second bomber spiders into a web of cracks. Reinforced glass shards shower the empty pilot seats. The rest of the squad opens fire with assault rifles. They rake the fuselages. They target hydraulic lines and avionics bays. Bullets ping off the aluminum skins. Hydraulic fluid spurts onto the tarmac, mixing with the rain and oil. Maintenance crews on the flight line freeze, then scatter. A mechanic drops his heavy toolbox. It clatters loudly. "Shooter, tarmac!" he screams. He dives behind a yellow towing tractor. Others scramble for the cover of the massive landing gear wheels. They press their faces to the rough concrete. The air fills with the sharp snap hiss of supersonic rounds passing overhead. The fleet of bombers sits helpless, bleeding vital fluids onto the runway. 3-4-5 hours, main flight line. The inferno at the fuel depot illuminates the runway in hellish orange light. Thick, oily smoke rolls across the concrete, reducing visibility to near zero. The heat is palpable, mixing with the humidity to create a suffocating blanket. Debris from the earlier explosions litters the ground, crunching under boot soles. The air tastes of copper and soot. A deep rumble shakes the tarmac. It grows louder, drowning out the crackle of the flames. 3 sets of high-intensity headlights pierce the gloom. The U.S. Quick Reaction Force arrives. 3 armored vehicles drift around the corner of the hangar. They skid to a halt, tires smoking. Turrets traverse with mechanical speed. The heavy machine guns roar to life. Dug, 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 dug. The sound is a rhythmic, earth-shaking hammer. Tracers streak across the darkness like angry red hornets. They slam into the cargo pallets sheltering Squad Bravo. Wood splinters violently. Chunks of concrete fly into the air as rounds impact the runway. The suppression is total. The air fills with the deafening thunder of .50 caliber fire. A commando raises his assault rifle to return fire. A round impacts the pavement inches from his face. Concrete dust sprays into his eyes. He recoils, scrambling back on his elbows. The pallet in front of him disintegrates under the relentless barrage. "Pop smoke!" the squad leader screams over the noise. He pulls the pin on a canister and hurls it forward. Gray smoke hisses out, expanding rapidly into a dense cloud. It mixes with the black soot from the fuel fire. The armored vehicles advance. Their engines rev high. They roll forward, crushing debris, closing the distance. The gunners walk their fire through the smoke, blind but lethal. Bullets tear through the haze, searching for flesh. Squad Bravo is pinned. There is no way out across the open tarmac. 400 hours Aircraft Maintenance Hangar 4. The massive steel structure vibrates like a drum. Outside, the heavy machine guns continue to hammer the exterior walls. Inside, the cavernous space is a maze of workbenches, hydraulic lifts, and disassembled engine parts. High bay lights hum overhead, casting long, sharp shadows. Squad Bravo kicks open the side personnel door. They spill inside, boots sliding on the polished epoxy floor. They seek cover behind a stack of shipping crates. A muzzle flash sparks from the upper catwalk. A U.S. Security Forces team is positioned in the rafters. Bullets rain down. They ricochet off the concrete floor with high-pitched whines. Sparks shower the infiltrators. The echo inside the metal hangar is deafening, a chaotic storm of noise. The Bravo team leader points up. He pulls a pin from a fragmentation grenade. He hurls it. The metal sphere arcs through the air. It strikes the catwalk railing. It bounces once. The U.S. soldiers dive flat. Boom! The explosion rips through the confined space. The steel grating of the catwalk twists violently. Dust shakes loose from the ceiling rafters. A massive red tool chest on the ground floor takes shrapnel. The drawers burst open. Wrenches, sockets, and screwdrivers spray across the room like grape shot. One wrench smashes into a fluorescent light fixture, showering the floor with glass. The shock wave triggers the fire suppression system. A loud clunk echoes through the pipes. Hundreds of sprinkler heads burst open simultaneously. Water cascades down in a torrential sheet. The floor instantly turns into a slick, treacherous lake. Oil from the maintenance bays mixes with the water. A U.S. soldier drops from the lower gantry. He lands hard, splashing water. He raises a shotgun. Boom! The buckshot tears into the shipping crates. Wood splinters fly. A commando lunges from the cover. He slips on the oily water but recovers. He tackles the soldier. They crash into a rack of spare tires. The rack collapses. Heavy rubber wheels bounce across the floor. The two men grapple in the deluge, water soaking their uniforms, blood swirling into the drain grates. 4:30 hours exterior of Hangar 4. The night air vibrates with the rhythmic thumping of heavy machinery. Smoke from the burning fuel depot still chokes the sky, drifting low over the tarmac like a gray shroud. The muzzle flashes from the U.S. armored vehicles illuminate the hangar doors in strobing bursts of yellow light. Squad Alpha emerges from the darkness of the flight line equipment yard. They move fast, boots splashing through puddles of oil and water. They flank the U.S. position. The Alpha team leader slides to a halt behind a concrete blast barrier. He shoulders a disposable rocket launcher. He flips the sight up. He aims at the rear engine block of the lead armored vehicle. He presses the trigger. Whoosh! The rocket leaves the tube on a tongue of fire. It streaks across the gap. Crump! The warhead detonates against the vehicle's rear slat armor. The explosion shears off the external stowage baskets. The heavy vehicle rocks violently on its suspension. Black smoke billows from the engine deck. The turret swings around, searching for the threat. Suddenly, a new sound dominates the battlefield. It is a deep, percussive chopping that resonates in the chest cavity. Thump, 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 thump. The wind picks up, whipping debris into a frenzy. An attack helicopter rises above the hangar roofline like a predatory insect. Its dark silhouette blocks out the glow of the fires. A high-intensity spotlight clicks on. The beam is blindingly white, a solid cone of light that cuts through the smoke. It sweeps the ground and locks onto Squad Alpha's position behind the blast barrier. There is nowhere to hide. The chain gun under the helicopter's nose pivots. The pilot engages. Bert! The sound is not like gunfire. It sounds like canvas tearing, amplified 1,000 times. The 30mm cannon rounds impact the concrete at 3,000 feet per second. The blast barrier disintegrates. Chunks of concrete the size of footballs fly through the air. The ground churns up into a cloud of dust and pulverized stone. The shockwave knocks the commandos flat. Hot brass casings rain down from the sky, clattering onto the tarmac. The surviving members of Squad Alpha scramble backward, dragging their wounded. The spotlight follows them relentlessly. 0445 hours. Northern airfield perimeter. The sky turns a bruised purple as dawn threatens the horizon. The spotlight from the attack helicopter cuts a harsh white cone through the lingering smoke. The drone of the rotor blades overhead is constant, a physical weight pressing down on the earth. The grass on the perimeter buffer zone lies flat, whipped by the downdraft. The remnants of Squad Alpha and Squad Bravo emerge near the breached fence line. Their uniforms are shredded, soaked in oil and blood. They move with desperate speed. They do not look back at the burning fuel depot. They sprint toward the jungle wall. The helicopter pilot adjusts his pedal. The aircraft pivots on its axis. The nose dips. The 30mm cannon roars again. Bird! The ground erupts 10 yards behind the retreating runners. Soil and limestone spray into the air. The impact wave punches the operators forward. They stumble but keep running. Trees at the jungle edge explode into splinters. Branches shear off and crash down, blocking the path. To the left, a column of U.S. armored vehicles crashes through the chain-link fence. They fan out, cutting off the escape route. The ramp of the lead vehicle drops. A squad of U.S. Marines pours out. They deploy in a skirmish line. They raise their rifles. Contact front, a Marine shouts. The air fills with the snap of supersonic rounds. Red tracers from the U.S. lines cross with green tracers from the infiltrators. The exchange is blinding. Bullets rip through the tall grass. A Chinese operator takes a round to the thigh. The impact spins him around. He collapses into the mud. He does not scream. He drags himself behind a fallen log. He raises his weapon and fires a long burst, pinning a Marine team for a split second. Two of his teammates grab his vest straps. They heave him up. They drag him backward toward the tree line. Mud slicks their boots. They slide and scramble. Rounds thwack into the wood of the log, sending chips flying into their faces. The net closes. The gap to the jungle is only 20 yards, but the air between is solid lead. 500 hours. Jungle perimeter line. The sun bleeds over the Pacific horizon, casting long, bloody streaks of light across the battered airfield. The humidity rises with the dawn, turning the lingering smoke into a thick, clinging smog. The attack helicopter hovers motionless above the tree line, its rotor wash flattening the tall sawgrass. The noise is a physical pressure, vibrating in the teeth and bones. The surviving infiltrators crouch behind the splintered remains of an ironwood tree. Their chests heave, mud and blood cake their faces. The firing stops. The sudden silence is heavier than the gunfire. A U.S. Marine officer blows a whistle. The sound cuts through the rotor wash. Suppressing fire, move up! The Marine line surges forward. Muzzle flashes ripple down the formation. Bullets chew up the rotting wood of the log. The lead infiltrator raises his submachine gun. He pulls the trigger. Click. The bolt locks back on an empty chamber. He drops the weapon and reaches for a knife. A black canister arcs high through the air. It lands at the feet of the Chinese team. It bounces once on a tree root. Bang! A flashbang grenade detonates. A blinding white flash erases the world. The concussion wave punches the air from their lungs. Ears ring with a high-pitched scream. The infiltrators stumble, hands clawing at their eyes. The Marines swarm over the defensive position. They move like a singular green wave. Rifle butts smash into collarbones and helmets. Bodies collide with sickening thuds. A brief, violent struggle churns the mud. A combat boot stomps down on a wrist, forcing a knife into the dirt. Zip ties ratchet shut. The sound is final. Clear. Secure, a Marine shouts. He keeps his rifle aimed at the prone figures. The scene settles. The helicopter banks away, its spotlight flicking off. Medics rush from the rear, carrying heavy aid bags. They kneel beside the wounded, ripping open Velcro pouches. Gauze pads slap onto wet red injuries. Corpsmen up! We need a litter team! The cry echoes against the wall of the jungle. The sun clears the horizon completely, illuminating the devastation. Black smoke still pours from the fuel depot, a dark scar against the perfect blue tropical sky.